For most of my adult life, I've been a Mac user. I got my first MacBook when I was 18, just going to university, and I really haven't looked back. But for a little bit over 6 months, I've been messing around with a Penguin. That didn't come out right. So today, without further ado, I want to talk about 6 things that I've learned after 6 months of using Linux. If you don't know me, I'm Spencer, and I like to talk about simple living, frugality, and digital minimalism. Let's get into it. The first big takeaway that I've had after using Linux for the last 6 months is that Linux really can be for almost anyone. For the average user and even the not so average one, Linux will very likely meet your needs. This is especially true if you're someone who uses your computer for things like consuming content, just basically web browsing, using an email, word processing, anything like that. Linux is going to be perfect for you, and there's no reason not to give it a shot. It's super easy these days to take pretty much whatever Linux distro you want, throw it on a USB stick, pop it into a computer, and give it a go. The installation process is typically very easy nowadays, not too much different than you would encounter with something like Windows or Mac OS. And if you're not particularly sure about which Linux distro you want to try, there's also nothing stopping you from putting a bunch of them on a USB stick, booting them into your computer, and trying each of them in the live test environment. Recently, I was sent this laptop that I have here, which is the Geekom M16. To me, this is kind of like Geekom's version of a MacBook. It's an aluminum construction, very nice packaging that it came into. This thing has a ton of ports, great Intel components, 32 gigs of soldered RAM, and also a 512 gig SSD that's swappable. But the one downside is that it came pre-installed with Windows, and that's a yuck for me. So I've been trying a bunch of different distros on this computer, trying to figure out which one I actually want to install. Right now I have CachyOS loaded on here, which is Arch-based. In the live test environment, you can pretty much do anything that you could do had you installed this on your disk, except it's running off the USB stick. This allows you to really test drive the distro and get a feel for it before you actually commit and hit install. And this whole idea of bootable USBs, it's something that was completely foreign to me before I got into Linux, but I love it. Now, Linux has long been a favorite for people like software devs, but it's also become really good for gaming in recent years as well. This is another area where I would have had to lean on Windows again if I wanted to play a game like the Elder Scrolls series. Now, I'm a big Elder Scrolls fan. I've been playing these games for going on like 20 years at this point, but sadly on Mac, you're not really able to play them super easily. There are some workarounds in which you can do it, but it's definitely, for me, not worth the headache, and it was more easy to just use another computer with Windows on it. But thanks to how far Linux has come and continues to go in the gaming sphere, I no longer have to use Windows for that purpose either, and Linux can be my full-time machine for gaming too. The best part about Linux too is that for the most part, it's hardware agnostic and it's free, meaning that you can take a computer like this that doesn't default come with Linux on it. It comes installed with Windows, and you can very easily throw that bootable USB drive in and get it switched over. Now, the second thing that I've learned after using Linux for the last 6 months, it's something that actually kind of runs counter to my first point, is that Linux is amazing, but it doesn't have to fully replace my Mac and be my one and only. Originally, when I got into Linux, I got into it because it felt much more aligned with my values around open source, repairability, longevity of hardware, that type of thing. So I really wanted to make an effort to switch over to Linux for my full-time computing, and that included things like video editing. Now, I work in the film industry here in Canada as a camera guy and oftentimes doing editing as well. So my computer isn't something that I'm just using for content consumption, but also creation. Now, no matter what you think of Apple as a company, in that arena of specifically video editing, big tasks like that really push a computer to its limits, the MacBooks are pretty hard to beat. There's things like battery life or just the sheer power of the computer, but also app availability and support for the OS. Now, I've edited on a lot of different systems over the years. I started off on Sony Vegas, I spent some time using Adobe Premiere, and now I'm using Apple's Final Cut. These are all high-level video editors, and many of them are among the industry standards. The problem with Linux is that unfortunately most mainstream video editing apps just aren't supported. There are tons of great open source video editors available like Kdenlive and OpenShot, and I've tested pretty much all of those, but I never really clicked with them the ways that I did with the previous ones that I mentioned. I've even been testing out a beefier and repairable Linux computer so that I could give video editing a try in earnest. A few months ago, I picked up a used Framework 13 laptop on Facebook Marketplace. This thing had the AMD Ryzen 9 AI HX 370 mainboard in it. That is a mouthful. To my knowledge, this is still the highest power AMD mainboard that Framework sells, so I figured if I was going to do video editing on a Framework, this was going to be the one to use. And it was pretty good, and for the average person, that computer is going to be plenty good enough. But for me, it was still more of an issue with software availability rather than hardware. Now, a lot of people will recommend trying DaVinci Resolve if you're moving over to Linux, and that is a great video editor that is really the industry standard at this point. But from where I'm standing, the problem is that Resolve is just way too finicky on Linux as of now. If you use the free version, which if I was using it on my MacBook or even on a Windows computer, the free version would be more than enough for me even at a professional level. It really is not functional on Linux. The reason for that is that the modern codecs that cameras shoot with nowadays, H.264 and H.265, they're just not supported on the free version of Linux because that operating system, being free, has not paid for the licensing to use those codecs. So when you actually try to open any of these video files, you're just met with a completely blank screen. Now, there are workarounds to get those video codecs converted, but that's only one of the issues you're going to run into trying to do Resolve on Linux. Typically on Linux, you're going to hear that NVIDIA GPUs are going to give you more problems than AMD ones. But with Resolve support, that's flipped, and NVIDIA GPUs are actually the preferred. And again, there's a great community-driven open source solution to get these AMD GPUs working, but that's still not the only issue you're going to run into with Resolve. Now, if you get the paid Pro Studio version of Resolve, a lot of these issues fix themselves. But the problem there being that that software costs hundreds of dollars, and the free one would have been adequate if I was using another OS. So after months of trying to get Linux to be adequate for my video editing needs and also to just be a reliable tool for that specific task, I decided to just use my Mac simultaneously with the Linux computer. I realized that this all or nothing approach really wasn't benefiting me at all. There's a lot of dogma kicking around the open source and privacy communities at large, and you can definitely run with more than one type of computer. It doesn't have to be anti-Apple completely and pro Linux. You can just use whatever works for you. Now, do I wish Apple did a much better job with repairability and even more longevity and support for their devices? Yes. But I can also acknowledge that modern Apple Silicon Macs are amazing creative tools for high-powered tasks like video editing, and they're exactly what I need for that. So what I will say is it doesn't have to be an all or nothing thing for you either. If you have a specialty software that's keeping you tied to an OS even a little, don't feel like you have to go all or nothing and move over. No, Linux isn't as good as Mac OS or even Windows for things like video editing, but neither of them are as good for being open or extremely privacy-centric. So in the words of this guy right here, I'm a bit of a Linux Mac double agent. Mac is my high-powered video editing appliance, it's my work tool, and Linux is my playground where I can learn about open source and privacy-centric apps. And that moves me on to the third thing that I've noticed after using Linux for the last 6 months is that Linux makes me use my computer and even look at my computer differently. With my MacBook, I'm often looking at it as just a tool to do my work. I open it and I know I have a very high-powered tool at my fingertips that's going to allow me to get my video editing done easily. But something about using Linux, it just makes me more curious about learning about the computer, how it works, how the OS works, and even looking into open source alternatives. I don't know if it's the cultural perception of Linux being so open and private, but I just use the computer so much differently than I use my Mac. On the MacBook, I would do literally no customization at all. I would leave the desktop background as whatever it was. I didn't even think about moving the dock until like a month ago, which I did actually try moving it to the left side and hiding it, but I just still found it got in the way too often. On Linux, the customizability is a lot more part of the culture. The fact that it is open and that you can dial it into being your computer. So that's led me to try different desktop environments to see how I liked the look of them, doing some customization in there as well. I looked for more open source alternatives beyond things like OpenOffice and Firefox. And I just find myself visiting more niche, interesting, almost older looking parts of the internet. Like a month or two ago, I was reading about Collapse OS and Dusk OS. If you haven't heard about these are kind of like prepper OSs that essentially, as society is collapsing or once it has collapsed, how we can maybe scavenge different computer parts and controllers and things from just broken electronics and put together functioning computers of sorts. That's something I seriously doubt I would have come across using my Mac because I just think I use it differently. I think I'm just like diving for like open source little tidbits when I'm using a Linux computer versus my Mac. The fourth thing that's become apparent over the last few months is just how much Linux, it kind of fits my life philosophy a little bit better than something like Mac OS might. I try to live simply as much as possible. I try to tread lightly as much as I can too. I ride my bike as much as possible. I pretty much buy everything, including all the clothes that I'm wearing, secondhand. I mean, even the act of installing Linux, having to go in the BIOS settings of your computer to actually boot up off of the USB stick, that's a lot more customization than I ever would have done on Mac OS. I also talk a lot about buy it for life on this channel, which means trying to kind of fight that planned obsolescence throwaway culture by buying things more often that are built to last and then putting in the work to make sure that that stuff sticks around as long as possible. Now, it is very hard for technologies like computers to be buy it for life. You have things like hardware failures, and then repairability comes in. And then you just have the general fact that our computing needs change and maybe get bigger over time. And then certain hardware just becomes out of date and can't really compete. But one of the biggest issues that happens specifically with computers is just that lack of software support on the OS level over the years. This is something that a lot of people have been talking about over the last year, and something that has driven a lot of people over to Linux, and that is the end of support for Windows 10. With the sunsetting of Windows 10, a lot of very capable hardware was no longer able to move over to Windows 11, and therefore was at risk of having security vulnerabilities through lack of security updates. And this is where Linux, and especially that community-driven aspect of Linux, comes in handy, because it supports these machines and allows you to keep them for much longer than you would natively get software support from something like Mac OS or Windows. There are Linux setups out there that are easily still supporting computers that are 20 years old. And although 20 years keeping a computer sounds kind of extreme, seems like something that the average person isn't going to do, you're going to be able to keep your computer running and effective much longer using something like Linux than you ever would have been able to with Mac OS or Windows. Part of the reason for this is that Linux distros can run so much leaner than something like Windows would. Windows is pretty famous at this point for being so bloated, and that can make computers sweat, especially older ones. But there's several Linux distros out there that are tailored to be specifically quite lean, so that they can run on older computers and keep them fairly well optimized for today's uses. Now, my Geekom laptop here has 32 gigs of RAM, as I mentioned, and that's going to be pretty capable using something like Windows 11 if I wanted to use it, but it's going to soar using Linux. But even something that doesn't have more modern DDR5 RAM like this, something like my ThinkPad T480, that is still perfectly good today in 2026 using Linux. Typically on that computer, I've been running Debian because I wanted something that was just dead stable. I also wanted a classic, and Debian seemed almost as classic as it gets besides Slackware. And vanilla Debian's pretty lean as well, so it leaves my ThinkPad plenty capable. As I mentioned, the Geekom M16 is currently running the live test environment for CachyOS, which I'm pretty sure is a fairly lean distro as well. From what I understand, it's also one of the more gaming-friendly distros, which is why I put it on this computer, because with this nice 16-inch screen, I thought it would be very good for playing my Elder Scrolls games. But once again, because of that community support, even something like my T480 runs Oblivion and Skyrim fine on Linux. With the turn of a few screws, I can get into my ThinkPad and change out pretty much everything. I have a spare motherboard kicking around that I got for 30 bucks on Facebook. This is very much in contrast to Apple, where repair really isn't something that you can do, or at least do cheaply. If one key dies on my MacBook Pro, it's like an $800 fix because they have to replace the entire top panel of this computer. So I will continue to advocate for Apple to do better, because that is something that I really want to see improved on, and I hope we can see legislation pushing for that type of thing. But for now, Linux is much more aligned with what I value. The fifth thing that I want to talk about after using Linux for the last 6 months is just how much I appreciate the community. Now, this kind of goes two ways. I'm talking about the actual community online, the people who will help you in forums and actually help you troubleshoot things when you are running into issues with your distro. But I'm also talking about the community-driven aspect of Linux in the whole open source community at large. A lot of the people working in the open source world aren't being paid for the work that they're doing. They're doing it for the love of it. Of course, there are plenty of exceptions to this as well, but my point is that it's really a bunch of different people from a bunch of situations who are all working together for the good of the whole. And it's really cool to see the types of solutions that people come up with in the open source community. Similarly, the Linux community that you're going to meet online, the people who are going to help you troubleshoot items, are on the whole great too. When I was trying to get the live test environment running on this computer, I found myself running into a few issues, and I was able to go on Reddit and get that sorted pretty quickly thanks to the community. Typically, because there's so many people that are out there trying these distros, breaking them, and then troubleshooting fixes, you're always going to find fixes online. And if you don't, you're able to ask in these communities and get solutions offered to you there. Now, I will say that the FOSS and privacy community can sometimes be a little bit intimidating, and certain people, like any community, can be a little bit much. You get the gatekeepers, you get the jerks, you get the people telling you you're not going deep enough, but on the whole, the community's great. And folks, the sixth and final thing that I've really come to believe after using Linux for the last 6 months is that Linux feels a lot more important to me and to a lot of people than it did 6 months ago. Now, in part, this is because of the huge migration of people who have come over to Linux as Windows 10 has been sunsetted. There's definitely a huge influx of new users because of that. Also because of people making videos here on YouTube sharing their thoughts about trying Linux, videos that I watched that made me excited to try it out and give it a go. But also just in the changing tech landscape, we're seeing more and more implementation of AI, privacy and surveillance issues on our devices, and even things like OS level age verification. Something like Linux is looking all the more appetizing, like it could be a big part of the solution here. And not even necessarily a solution, because I don't really know what the solution is here, but more of a refuge. When it was announced that many places around the world were going to start introducing things like OS level age verification, many Linux distros and Graphene OS spoke out in opposition to these things and said that they wouldn't implement it on their systems. And this is just a great reminder, folks, that computing doesn't have to look the way that Apple or Microsoft or Google thinks that it should. There is another way where your computer isn't spying on you, where you don't have to give up personal information just to access the online world. Linux offers the potential to really dial in your privacy and have more of that freedom. Now, as I mentioned, I'm still very much using my MacBook today because I like having that dual system approach as of now. But folks, I feel very good about the fact that I've spent the last 6 months getting comfortable with Linux, so that should I feel the need to fully move over to there as my main OS and as my one and only, that I will be comfortable doing that move. Again, I feel like in this situation, Linux is more of a respite or an escape for now rather than an all-out solution to these privacy invasions. We still need to get active and raise our voices that our privacy is important online and in our technology in general, but I'm very happy that Linux exists as this option. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Just 6 thoughts that I've had as a relatively new Linux user who's really just dived in the last 6 months. Let me know what you thought of this video in the comments. Are you Linux curious like I was, but you haven't made the jump yet and tested it out for yourself? Or are you a veteran of Linux who's been using it for a decade or more? Let me know down below. Thank you as always for watching, folks. I appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next one.